Welcome to the Phoenix Prosperity Podcast, where wealth meets legacy. Join your host, Tim Fergestad, as we explore the journeys of Phoenix's finest to success and beyond.
All right. Hello, this is Tim Fergestad. Thank you for joining us. Today's guest has spent 2 decades in emergency medicine and healthcare systems and leadership, leading major quality, safety, and COVID response initiatives across multiple hospital systems. Maria Granzotti joins us to discuss leadership under pressure, healthcare transformation, and building high-performing teams. Welcome to the show, Maria.
Hi, Tim. Thanks for having me. It's exciting. I was glad to see your invitation because I love talking about this journey and hopefully help some others along the way.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much. So why don't you go ahead and tell us about your the current focus, Church Streeter.
Okay. Well, my current focus is that I'm with the team. We're called Church Streeter and Cross. You can find us at churchstreeterandcross.com. And we're a talent acquisition and technology team that only focuses on healthcare recruiting, retention, and engagement. The differences we're making are quite exciting. 100% of our clients stay with us. 100% of our clients reach top decile performance. And we keep pushing the envelope as to what's possible, whether it's in a rural market that can be very hard to recruit and retain, or a much more metropolitan market.
Okay. Before we dive into the details there, is there, I don't know about recruiting. So is there a lot of competition in that space, right? You obviously are setting yourself apart with your performance already, but can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, there's a fair amount of competition here. And the thing is that the need is palpable, it's visible. You know, it can cost almost $300,000 for every, or you can save $300,000 for every 1% in RN turnover that you mitigate, that you save. It can cost you, for instance, a lot of data out there to recruit, onboard, train, include productivity. It can cost you over $60,000 a year per nurse.
Right.
So you can imagine health systems are very much aware of this. And it's very dynamic in that they're not only having to engage and retain and team build, we'll talk about team building, their current staff, but they're also having to understand how to onboard new staff and new skill sets. So it's a very, very dynamic market, and we're excited to be in it.
Okay. Excellent. Same with a lot of what I do now is focusing on residential or multifamily investments, and tenant churn is very much like employee churn, right? There's a lot of costs associated with it. So we definitely want to keep good quality people.
Exactly. And it's so dependent. I mean, I'm saying people are very familiar with this. The type of culture you build and the onboarding, we always say it starts at day one. Retention starts at day one with onboarding, and how you build that culture alongside that new individual that are bringing their individual skill sets, their unique capabilities to your health system is very, very key. And as we all know, it impacts your safety and your quality and your staff well-being. So it's a very, very key and important piece that is gaining a lot more attention.
Okay. Let's back up a minute here and go over Maria's origin story, if you will. What originally pulled you into emergency medicine?
Well, it's a long story, but I'll try to be kind here. My grandmother, it was an Iowa farm wife, and she was a nurse for over 50 years, and she was my best friend. And this woman never slept. She would go, entail in her nursing duties, let's say, which back then was all over the place. She'd be in the ER, she'd be in the OR, she'd be in labor and delivery. It was just amazing. But she would be a nurse, but then also help the farm 12 hours a day and cook for all the farm hands and cook for my lovely grandfather. So that's what instilled in me that I wanted to get into healthcare. It really hit me, her passion, her love for the people and the connectivity. So went to undergrad at Notre Dame, went to medical school at Southwestern, where I met my husband. And he's unfortunately passed away in 2020 suddenly. But that core of and that value of how we help people and how we bring our skill sets to engender their skill sets, it's never left me. I've always felt that relationship with the patient is a sacred relationship, and it really is. It's a sacred relationship. So went to medical school, went to residency, did internal medicine residency in Chicago at Rush Press. And then I was a full-time ER physician, teaching, attending for several years to residents, for the next wave of healthcare. And after 20 years, I knew that there was more to do, especially in quality and safety. So I got my certified physician executive degree and my MBA. And then I was in executive administration for over 15 years. So I'm dating myself. I tell everybody I'm 24, but I'm dating myself. I'm past that now. So, 15 years in executive administration really helped me to see behind the curtain just that much more, how we needed to impact and how we needed to enable not only our patients, but our staff also in the systems that we deliver the care. So it's a snippet of my career.
Okay. And what's harder, being a great clinician or leading clinicians?
It's interesting. I get asked that all the time, and everybody always asks me, "No, you can't leave clinical. You were just wonderful. You really had a passion for it." And I always felt that I needed to go deeper. I needed to go just behind the scenes to help not only impact one patient, but potentially thousands with the systems that I was helping to build and lead, and the impact we had on our communities. So that's how I always looked at it. Which was harder? They're different in their own sense. I think I worked more hours, believe it or not, as an administrator than I did executive administrator than I did as a clinician. I mean, because you're on 24/7. You really are.
Okay. I've seen a lot of physicians fail to make that transition to leadership. They struggle with some of I don't know if it's the values, the ego, the different leadership roles that you have to take on, or maybe not things that are trained.
Well, we must be on some kind of wavelength, because I'm part of a research paper that's coming out in a few months. We've been accepted for publication, and it's specifically, there you go. It's specifically on that subject, how that transition, if you're an excellent clinician, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be an excellent administrator, executive in leadership. And the reasons why are myriad, but some of it is identity driven. Some of it is core driven. There's a fair amount that the environment that these physicians are transitioned in, there's not enough support in leadership development or education. Like, for instance, we're talking earlier on finance pieces, for a lowly ER doc like me to walk into a board meeting and have to read an accounting, cash flow spreadsheet. That's a whole different set of skills, but it's something that's there's no barrier to getting there, but just that lens, that interpretive lens, is a little bit different. So that paper is coming out, and it's quite interesting. And the paper also focuses on, we don't like the term burnout. We just really don't like the term burnout. It's more of it's a readiness, it's an assessment, it's a preparedness kind of a piece that we all need to get together to address. So thanks for bringing that up.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's a big issue nowadays. And I've seen people try to break that down. You're right, because it is a vague term. Yeah. Right. It's not that it's too hard. Overachievers love hard things, right? It's more of a lack of control, lack of respect, all sorts of things that have changed that it's now do the same job with one arm tied behind your back.
Right.
It's frustrating.
And it's that role identity. There's a lot of disruption to, okay, I'm a clinician. I remember when I first started, it's a great point. When I first started, I was a chief medical officer at one hospital. And that's big enough in itself. One hospital. We were about 250, 275 bed hospital, smaller community. And I would be in the ER working, taking care of patients. And I would have all kinds of staff coming to me from the floors, hunting me down to take care of issues. Right. And I really had to, okay, I'm taking care of this one patient right now. This is my role today. This can be triaged to a later time. But it speaks to that. And sometimes these teams don't understand how the definition of that role and what that truly means. So, right.
You also brought up another point, which I want to dive into a little bit, is nature versus nurture, right? I mean, how much of that is not just in administration, but as a physician in general, can you teach? And when my wife was in medical school, I think the movie Patch Adams with Robin Williams came out. Do you remember that movie? For our listener, it was less productivity. It was better connection, right? And her curriculum was making a push to try to make more sensitive doctors.
Yes.
And
Yes.
my dad had a great line too, because my son was a little bit more on the sensitive side as a young boy, kind of an old soul and stuff. He's surprisingly empathetic in that way. And my dad said, "That's awesome." He said, "You can toughen a kid up, but you can't make them care."
Yeah, no, and
And I saw the same thing with physicians in med school.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I always, that brings me back to a teaching point I always had with my residents, or excuse me, if I was leading, medical staff meetings or, one-on-ones, mentoring. The more you can maintain your core self, your humanness, now there's the term humanness, everybody's using it, but I really like that. It's your humanity, your humanness.
Okay.
The better you are at translating and actually connecting with that patient as to what they need, or that staff member, what they need. And that's part of what we're doing at Church Streeter and Cross. Interesting to bring it full circle. That's part of what we're doing, is really trying to understand, and it's not only empathize, but then connect and further that purity in purpose.
Okay. Yeah. I think it gets lost nowadays. It's more shift work and other stuff. So yeah.
The time constraints and the productivity constraints. I mean, I understand it's very hard. It's very tough, but that brings that much more of a need for you to be that much more yourself, because your skills in understanding what that staff member or patient needs are that much better. You're having to, it's almost a fight or flight in that interaction. Try to get there a little bit better.
Okay. Why are those operational efficiencies in healthcare so different compared to other industries?
I've tried to understand that for over 35 years.
Okay,
and,
good. And
so thank you for asking that. I think just the multivariate sensibility of healthcare. Every patient is unique. Every staff member is unique. Every location is unique. Every department is unique. And the answer is not, let's make the same everything everywhere. It's, no, what is this entity or this section really good at, and how can we optimize that in a highly reliable way so that we are hitting at all cylinders all the time. I think that sometimes in healthcare we've gotten too vanilla. We've gotten to, we can understand 85% or 90% of something if we just do this. That's great as a start, but you have to push that much further for that individual and for that staff member. So that was a long answer, and it's probably not the right answer, but I've thought about it for a long time.
Well, you're right. There's a ton of variables. It's really complicated. So, moving back to the systems, right? How much of system design it can override individual talent in this space, right? When you're trying to merge those two in your placement service you do now.
That's a whole other podcast, Tim. But yeah, system design, again, the core, and I was a huge proponent, I am still a huge proponent of high reliability and high reliability organizations and those principles. And I think within those principles, it takes you from that individualness, that specificity of the front line, let's say, to the grander piece of, defer to expertise, speak out. And it really translates into your team building. It really does. So the more you can infuse, going back to that individualness and how it impacts that interaction, but then almost like a scaffolding, it's kind of like a scaffolding. High reliability is a scaffolding where you are allowed to be agile and mobile and resilient so that you can meet your patient's needs.
Okay. So what drives sustainable improvement in that system?
Culture, for one. You've got to have a trust culture. Trust culture is number one. I've always felt that is the most foundational element, and how you can engage in that culture and be consistent within that culture and accountable to that culture.
I hear a lot. I have friends who are, a lot of my physician friends are in the OR, and you need to be able to trust your team.
Yes.
And over the past 5+ years, there's been a loss of that because of new team members will come in and write up the surgeon because they made them feel bad. And things like that. And they're like, well, blood hit the ceiling and I needed you to do something. You didn't do it. Get the hell out of here. This isn't allowed. But it was too stressful. They didn't like the way it was said and things like that. And then the team trust falls apart. Yes.
And it's such a, some of that is a balance. And honestly, and I would talk about this, you have got to assume part of what you do within a team is that you have to not assume, you have to know that everyone is doing in the best interest of the patient, in the best interest of the team. And you're right, when you don't have that, I mean, I can remember, I'm having back in the day, I had to build a level of trust and a level of culture that the OR scheduler, the OR coordinator could come down to my office or page me or call me and say, you know what, I saw Dr. So-and-so today before his case, and he does not look right. I don't think, you have to engender that because that's part of your safety and your quality outcomes. And sure enough, I would go talk to the individual, or they were empowered also to stop the procedure, before it actually happened. So that's why I say culture is so, it has got to be foundational in any system generation that you're building.
Yeah. We'll circle back to culture in a second. I've seen in my wife's practice, even, and when private equity comes in, right, that when it's physician known that they're a team and they work like that really well, but then all of a sudden they become a number and it turns into shift work. How do some groups or hospitals continue to grow that culture, whereas others plateau and lose it?
It's tough. It's really tough, especially with the dynamics of private equity coming in. And I think I'm not against private equity. I think it's really good in the right setting with the right boundaries, with the right parameters. And as long as the goal is, you have to align on that goal. And sometimes the goal is not, I'll be honest, is not, outcomes driven. It's more, we're going to turn this system around and then where it's going to be taken up elsewhere, kind of a thing. But you have to really be aligned in the outcomes. And it's tough. It's tough as a physician today to understand your North Star and to keep that North Star and fight for your North Star. But there's ways to do it. And there's ways to continually engage your team in doing that. Yeah.
Okay. Now let's bring Church Streeter back into this with an overlay over all this and explain how Church Streeter keeps or helps recruit the right people for a culture and helps grow that culture in different places and just bigger picture too, where Church Streeter is national, where are you operating?
Yeah, we're national company. And what's interesting about us is you may need all of our solutions, whether it's leadership development, whether it's recruiting, whether it's onboarding, whether it's virtual onboarding, which has phenomenal numbers in reaching candidates that may be a softer candidate, maybe somebody not actively looking. But we can have all our solutions with the client, or we can have individual solutions, and each one of those can be customized to that client and what they need. So we really, 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 really focus on the onboarding and what does the entity, what does the client, what is their culture, understanding that culture, what is their focus, what are their drivers in their healthcare delivery. But that connected onboarding piece, retention starts at onboarding piece. It also drives engagement. We have an integrated retention strategy with what are the strategies of the health system? Are we going to acquire another health system? Are we divesting some pieces to focus more on our core capabilities, et cetera, et cetera? The other thing that's exciting is our focused leadership development, not only in nursing, but also on the physician side, because I have, all those years experience with that. And what's interesting now, especially in the market now, I will say the words AI, and I will say that our AI is true AI. I've been to several conferences and you hear AI as a buzzword. But then when you
Right.
really get down to the nitty gritty as to what do they mean by AI, it's really not AI. So we have an enabler, again, taking our humanness, our individuality, and expanding that capability, making it that much more facile and adaptable. We have an AI agent called Cece. Her name is Cece, CECE, and you can see that on our website. But that AI enablement helps us to discern that much more, whether it's an operating issue, whether it's a staff team issue, whether it's a skills issue, those kinds of pieces to make that team better. And again, it's a flywheel with the culture,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
So again, a lot of variables in there. I talked about a lot, but that's the beauty of being with this entity right now, is that we're able to connect the dots.
Right. Okay. So what are sort of the bottlenecks, operational or otherwise, in healthcare that are most ripe for AI transformation?
Maybe your team is not built of the right members. Maybe the outcomes you expect of that team in a certain space, maybe the membership is not correct. Maybe the numbers aren't correct. Maybe the skill sets aren't correct. Maybe the timing is not correct. So maybe their technology accessibility is not correct.
That's wild, because a lot of those are soft skills that you wouldn't necessarily expect a computer to go in and deal with all the personality issues.
Right. Exactly. So how we can approach that, but we, and then the outcomes piece, the parlay, it's care delays, it's treatment delays, it's quality safety issues. So knowing that from the get-go, how we can optimize that whole workflow. If you're not integrated, if your workforce is not integrated, vice versa with your workflows and how you assess those workflows, you're going to fail. Right. You're going to fail. And I think in healthcare, we've done that for so long. We've looked at, we've got to get this antibiotic in by this such and such time. But okay, well, nobody looked at the workflow, how we're going to even get to how we need the antibiotic, let alone administer. So it's you've got to have workflow integration, and we're able to do that with our systems.
Yeah, it sounds like that's well suited for some things like that. How about back to the relationships? How is technology improving the doctor-patient relationship? Or is it distancing it?
It's that boy. You asked really big questions. There's another. You must know what you're doing. There's a lot of literature out there right now on ambient listening and ambient documentation, which I think can really help that interaction between a patient and the physician. The other piece that's very exciting, I think is the most exciting, is the retrieval of important key information at the right time in the level of care. That is very exciting to me. And there's some pieces, there's some information out there, some literature out there that it's showing some impact, but we have a long way to go. I actually, speaking of AI and interventions, I actually taught a course at the American Association of Physician Leaders twice last year on AI in healthcare and the different types of interventions. And, everybody talks about the trust issue and the understanding. It's more of understanding how these models are built and how they're getting to the information that they're trying to parlay to the healthcare giver. There's a whole level of HIPAA and security and who has the rights to that information and when to assess that information. But we have to be very careful, especially, there are some medical schools that are dipping their toe into how to infuse more of those AI models into care delivery. But you have to be very careful because that critical thinking, going back to the human and the individual, that critical thinking is not going to be replaced. It's not going to be replaced. You have to be able to get there.
I had, I'm looking up right now, James Bates on ADV Now is his software, but there's a number of them. He's here in the Valley. They've been doing some great stuff, but it's very challenging to get AI integrated into the existing systems because of the legacy software and medical records and all the HIPAA constraints.
Oh, yes. And you're talking to someone, I'm going to date myself again. You're talking to someone in medical school. And when I think of this, I shudder, who would go down to the lab and find the little piece of paper with the CBC results and find the piece of paper with the SMA 18 results and go write them in the physician's chart. So can you imagine? I mean, it's it's exciting in a lot of ways. And I was there for the first monitors on the floors. We could actually get digitally the results of tests. So that was a huge step forward. And I also survived the meaningful use era where we had to demonstrate that, yes, we were using that digital information. So,
Okay. Oh, we could dive deep on a bunch of this.
Every single subject you brought up, we could talk about for an hour.
Yeah. Okay. So, let's as we wrap this up, let's talk about events. You guys just had an event. You don't have anything coming up right away, but you just had an event. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, we were actually attended at the American Society for Healthcare Human Resources Administration. It was in Savannah, Georgia, and it's on our LinkedIn post. You can see our interactions. And actually, a young woman, I want to say from Texas, maybe, we had raffled off a AirPod 2 headphones. So she won that. But it was really, it's so focused on human resources and the challenges that human resources has across the country, again, specifically in healthcare, that we were very, very blessed to be there. So be more information on that.
Okay. You're here in Phoenix, but Church Streeters is national. Where are the bulk of your clients and what's the size ranges that you guys work with?
We're all over the place. I'll just say we're all over the place, from big multi-hospital health systems to smaller entities. And again, some are using, our entire suite of solutions, and some are more interested in the focus, maybe just the virtual events, the onboarding, maybe just the data technology side of things. But as our talent ecosystem is rolled out here in the next several months, that's going to bring even more to light on capabilities and what people can. We're here to help people. We understand healthcare, and that's a huge differentiator for us. I meant to tell you, Tim, we've all been in these seats. We've all been there. Our executive team's comprised of past hospital CEOs, past hospital COOs, CNOs, national system CNOs. So we've been in those seats and understand the pressures and the accountability around that. And that's why we want to bring the experience and not just be an everyday consulting firm. Nothing against consulting firms, but a lot of consulting firms don't have that experience, don't have that in the seat mentality that we've had. So that's a huge differentiator for us.
Okay. So speaking locally, like here, do groups maybe like Abrazo or Banner types, they can reach out to you to,
Absolutely.
Third party?
Absolutely.
Beef up their systems. And then also then the smaller end, individual physician practices, clinics.
Yeah, if needed, we are open. Yep, we're open. And I should say that we're very careful. We're not one, we're not going to take, it has to be a good fit, right? So we're not going to take on a client and then take the one that's across the street. We're not into this, eat from the other type of thing. We have really tried to focus on one large client per state for the majority for the majority of our solutions. So that, because you have to think about a competitive nature, and especially in recruiting and retention. So we really, again, trying to focus on that client and understand their needs. Okay.
Well, it sounds like you guys are crushing it. 100% retention and
trying to keep up, Tim. That's all I can do.
All right. So Maria, if people would like to learn more, they want to connect with you, where can they go? What should they do? Absolutely. Our website is at churchstreeter.com. Churchstreeter.com. And my email specifically, if people want to reach out, maria.granzotti@churchstreeter.com. And I can get you to the right folks and try to help you understand what your needs are and how we can help you out. All right. Well, thank you, Maria. This has been great. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. And again, thank you, Maria Granzotti, for sharing your insights into this complicated industry that is constantly evolving and sharing your detailed insights. Thank you. Well, I appreciate your insights and your knowledge base to understand where to go with the conversation. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you.
Inspired by our guests? Visit PhoenixProsperityPodcast.com/guest and join us on the show and share your success story with Tim. The spotlight awaits.